indeed, when we look back at the last legislative period of the European Parliament, we see that we worked on many important initiatives to strengthen the transnational dimension of EU politics. This legislative term was all about making the EU more democratic, more connected to its citizens, and helping European political parties become real players in the electoral, in the political landscape. Our achievements in strengthening transnational EU politics, one of the most important initiatives from this legislative term, was the Conference on the Future of Europe that was launched finally in May 2021. This was an exciting way to involve citizens in discussions about the EU's future. And this initiative was a landmark experience in participatory democracy, inviting more than 800 EU citizens from across the continent to engage directly in shaping the future of the Union. And we took this very serious. The conference was a forum for discussing core transnational challenges like climate change, like migration, like social Europe and the digital economy. One of the central elements that emerged during the conference was the call for a stronger transnational element in European politics, including a more prominent role for European political parties. A lot of these discussions focused on how we can make the EU more democratic. We also worked hard to reform the Electoral Act, aiming to standardize how elections are held across the EU. That's so essential. And right now, voting age and election dates can vary enormously between countries. So the idea was to harmonize all this. While this reform, after all the hard work, is still in progress, it's another step towards making EU elections more consistent and focused on European, not just on national issues. One key element of the EU electoral law is therefore the call for transnational electoral lists to be able to vote for candidates from across the EU in the European Parliament elections. It wasn't in place for the 2019 elections, but the European Parliament approved a proposal in 2022 to introduce transnational lists for future EU elections. If these transnational lists are adopted, it would mean that instead of focusing mainly on national concerns, campaigns could be better based on EU-wide issues, giving European political parties a much bigger role. During the last mandate, we also worked on legislative proposals to boost the presence of European political parties. These are the pan-European political parties like the Party of European Socialists, the PES. The Parliament has been working to give them a bigger role in shaping policies and also engaging directly with European voters. Now, a part of this is the so-called Spitzenkandidat principle. Introduced in 2014, this process connects European elections with choosing the candidate for president of the European Commission. It was used in 2014, but failed in 2019. Still, this legislative period saw ongoing discussions about how to strengthen it, how to make it clearer, legally more fitting. If the Spitzenkandidat system becomes more established, it would mean that voters would have more direct influence over who leads in the next term than the EU Commission, giving European political parties a bigger say in key EU decisions. Legacy and future challenges. Looking ahead now, there are several areas where this legislative period has left a lasting legacy. First, the debate around transnational list is not going away. We will make sure of this. Even though they haven't been adopted yet, the momentum is there. If we would get transnational lists, it would change how European elections work. Campaigns would focus more on EU-wide issues, and voters would know that they're electing candidates who represent the whole of Europe, not just their home country. And then there's still the Spitzenkandidat system. There's still a lot of debate over whether it should be expanded or reformed. But if it does become more central to the electoral process, it could really help to strengthen the role of European political parties and give also the voters a stronger role and the parliament more influence. The conference on the future of Europe also left us with some exciting possibilities. It showed how we can engage citizens directly in shaping EU policies, in engaging, debating with them. The key now is turning those ideas into real actions also in this term that impacts on people's lives. Of course, there are also some challenges that remain. Even if a lot of progress was made, populist and Eurosceptic parties continue to gain support. This makes it harder to address and initiate big reforms on transnational lists or more integration, because the parliament is becoming politically more diverse and also very much fragmented. And national voices are getting stronger. Lastly, the push to strengthen European political parties will continue. These parties have the potential, I really believe in the potential to play a much bigger role in shaping EU-wide debates and tackling issues like climate, inequality and migration. But for that to happen, they need to become more connected to voters and more relevant to the everyday lives of Europeans. So, as a conclusion, looking back, the 2019 to 2024 period in the European Parliament was crucial for the future of transnational EU politics. We made the best out of the majorities we had in this period, from pushing for transnational electoral lists to engaging citizens through the Conference on the Future of Europe, to taking their proposals for treaty changes. These efforts have paved the way for more democratic, European-focused elections. There's still a lot of work to be done, but the progress made during this time has laid the foundation for even deeper integration and more meaningful participation for European citizens in the future of Europe. We continue in this way.